All right. Well, hope everybody is doing all right today. We're almost done with this week, so we basically have 3 weeks left of school. There's still a decent amount of material to cover, so tomorrow we're going to go ahead and start with parametric equations. So if you have a minute or so tonight, that's all it's going to take. Do me a favor, go ahead and read the front page of this packet just to get an idea of what parametric equations are, and tomorrow we'll go ahead and get right into them. It is only going to take you a minute or two, okay, max. The other item you picked up today was your hyperbola assignment. That is going to be due on Monday. That's going to be due on Monday. So you'll probably have some time in class today to go ahead and work on it. Tomorrow we're going to move on with parametrics, and then really we're just going to see how far we're able to get. It'll probably take us through next week because of the schedule due to STAR testing. So we'll kind of see how that works out. The other item, we're still a couple of weeks out, but it looks like I'm going to go ahead and have your second exam on the 17th. So 2 weeks from tomorrow. It's going to be on Friday. Basically the last full Friday of school. That's when we'll have our exam. And then right after that, we'll get into review and finals. Okay, so any questions about what's coming up? Okay, well, let's see here. This is where we finished yesterday, so we were pretty much wrapped up with hyperbolas. I did want to go ahead and show you using the discriminant b squared minus 4ac. Depending on the value that you got, it would identify the conic you were looking at. And the one that was a little unusual was this second one right here, because this did turn out to be a parabola. And I wanted to go ahead and show you how it was a parabola very quickly. I did tell you I would do that yesterday. So the thing is, with this problem, we're not going to be able to complete the square because of the xy term. So we have to go ahead and get a little creative. We're actually going to go ahead and use the quadratic formula in order to graph this guy. So let's see here. The quadratic formula is the opposite of b, what? Plus or minus the square root. Oh, not 2ab. b squared minus 4ac, that's the discriminant we were looking at, all divided by 2a. Okay, now in order to use the quadratic formula, we need to have values of a, b, and c. So I'm going to rewrite this general form, or basically I'm just going to rearrange the terms. When we say standard form, for a quadratic, we're talking about ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, does that sound familiar? But we're going to go ahead and do it in terms of y, so that when we solve for y, the equation will be in x, because I like y equals x. So we're going to rewrite this equation to look like this. Ay squared plus by plus c is equal to 0. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and start with the y squared. There's only one y squared term. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say 2y squared. But you'll notice when I go ahead and move on to the y terms, how many of those do I have? Hello. Let's see, Jack and Aiden. Okay, Jack and Aiden. Yes, you, Jack. Yep. Okay. There you go. Okay. All right. So how many y terms do I have? Remember, we already took care of the y squared, so just y, we have 2, right? Now, here's the thing. Negative 3y plus 4xy, they're not like terms, so I can't combine them, but I've got to somehow rewrite it so that I can have a single y and have a coefficient that I can go ahead and call b. So for these two right here, I'm going to pretend y is the common factor, and I'm going to go ahead and pull it out. So I'm going to have plus, this would be 4x minus 3 times y. See, if I were to remultiply, if I were to redistribute, y times 4x is my 4xy, y times negative 3 is my negative 3y. Okay, but now it's in the form that I need. Okay. Now, anything that remains is going to be considered my constant. And we actually have 3 terms left. So 2x squared plus 6x minus the 88 equals 0. Okay, so this is in standard form, the ay squared plus by plus c. It's just that 2 is the value of a. This binomial 4x minus 3 is the value of b. And these 3 here altogether represent my constant. Okay, so it looks kind of unusual, but those are what I'm going to be plugging into the quadratic formula. All right, well, let's go ahead and see what happens. The first thing I need is the opposite of b. Well, remember, b is 4x minus 3. Well, the opposite would be just to change the signs, right? So 4x minus 3, I'm going to go ahead and say 3 minus 4x. I just write it so I don't have the negative starting out. Okay. So there's the opposite of b, plus or minus. Now, before I go ahead and put the radical, I'm going to go ahead and take care of the b squared minus 4ac. Since b is a binomial, I'm going to go ahead and say 4x minus 3 squared. There's b squared. Minus 4 times what's a? A is 2 times c. But what's c? It's this whole trinomial. 2x squared plus 6x minus 88. Okay, so there's b squared minus 4 times a times c, and all that's below your radical. Okay, and now you want to divide it by 2a, but remember a is 2, so I'm going to divide this whole thing by what? 4, 2 times 2. All right, is everybody okay how I plugged in all those values? Okay. Well, now what I want to go ahead and do, I'm going to turn to the calculator because I want to see that this is actually not only a parabola, but it's a rotated parabola. But how many, let's say, equations or functions am I going to have to plug in there? 2. Why 2? The plus and minus. I'm going to have to type one in as plus the square root. The other one I'm going to have to type in as the minus. So the positive will give me the upper portion, and the minus will give me the lower portion. So I've already done this. Okay, I'm going to come on over here. That is not what I needed. If you come on over here to my calculator, you'll notice the one in blue is the plus, the upper. The one in red is the minus, the lower. Okay, so we do indeed have a parabola that's rotated, as you see. Now, you'll notice the equation isn't exactly the same. I did change a few things. In the b squared minus 4ac, when it was minus 4 times 2, I just went ahead and made that minus 8. And you'll notice I didn't type it in as a fraction. Dividing by 4 is the same as multiplying by what? 0.25. That's why I just changed it a little bit. It's the exact same functions. All right. But I did say yesterday that I wanted to go ahead and show you that before we concluded. And I think Mr. Heinrich showed you something similar to that in Algebra 2. Is that right? Okay. Probably. Okay, so you have, this isn't really anything new. Maybe, maybe not. Okay. So Connor, you've not seen this before? Oh, no, I've seen it. Oh, you've seen it? Okay, okay, good, 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 good. All right. Well, good, good, good. Well, as far as hyperbolas, that is all I have, unless anybody has any last questions. Okay, let's get to the quiz. Let me go ahead and erase this right here. Get ready for 8th period.